So my name is Etta Albert. Just kind of trying to do this portfolio thing. Hopefully this works. Going back and looking at all of my assignments. I'm going to start off with the first one that we did, just to kind of touch back. So I know that we started off as far as what I thought the 21st century meant back in March when we first started the class. One of the things that I actually remember talking about was how technology is at our fingertips. So pretty much like the world of technology, how technology has been we've been learning from it. So anyways, to keep up with the ever-evolving society that we live in, technology has been coming through. And as far as we have in our classrooms, I know the platform we use is Google Classroom, but I know that other schools use Power School. I know some other places use Canvas. There's different platforms that they can use. I know that I've even used, we have Skyward as well, and I've used that to even do tests. But anyways, just to kind of give an idea, just pretty much how technology is used for, to be able to differentiate instruction. I've seen a lot of it being used, and I didn't realize until recently how much I actually do that with technology. So starting off with the discussion as far as when we started back, the 21st century learning, for me, it's learning at your fingertips, because nowadays kids have everything. Adults have everything at their fingertips, whether it's a Chromebook, whether it's a phone, a tablet, an iPad, it doesn't matter. Kids are actually using and utilizing every kind of technology that they can get their hands on for everything. So that one, that's what back to our first assignment, that's what I was thinking. Then we moved on to looking back as far as technology integration models. I'm not the best personally at being able to use technology. I'm definitely not tech savvy at all. So it's been something for me. But anyways, looking at the model, the integration model that I used was the SURE model that, after looking through it, it integrates technology for optimal learning. The SURE model is used for the Common Core standards. The reason that it's SURE, it stands for Analyze Learning, State Standards, Objectives, Select Strategies and Resources, Utilizing Resources, Require Learning Participation, Evaluate, and Revise. I recommend this model. This is the one that I looked at. I don't know that much about many of the models, but SURE incorporates technology and media for learning purposes. Students would be able to utilize this model to help retain material. According to Spalding and Lowther and Mims, 2019, the use of technology and media is important because it will support the learning, it will support the learning, and it will assess the achievements of the standards or the learning objectives. SURE models could be used in classrooms if needed. That was the other thing, or if needed to be in a virtual learning. So that was pretty much going back and revisiting what we did for that discussion regarding just to kind of give you a brief overview, I guess, of what it was. I'm not sure how this portfolio thing's supposed to work. I'm hoping this is the right way. Could be wrong. But anyways, moving on to web tools evaluation. So this one, the web tool that I evaluated, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Savvas, but that's one, or some people call it Savas. I call it Savvas, Savas, same thing, potato, kind of a deal. So looking back at how to evaluate this, Savvas, I looked at content, sources, organization, and requirements. One of the things that I look at Savvas sometimes is making sure that the content is precise and it reflects the material covered in all three and what I'm looking at. So like I used it for units of food, and Savas, I went back and I looked and made sure that the content is precise and reflects the material regarding food in Unit 3 with Spanish, with the Spanish foods. Source information that was collected in Savas was, it does give me graphs and it is to give me documentation. Savas does do that, and it gives me like charts and it shows me where the students are at. So that's really important for me as far as like making sure that it's working for the students, and not just necessarily for the students, but for me as well. Making sure that everybody is getting the most out of Savas. Savas content's organized with headings. That one's one of the things that I really like about Savas, and that we can look at and make sure that there's headings and units and that everything is logically organized and it's user friendly. Because if it's not user friendly, then, for people like me or students like me, if it's not user friendly, it's going to be really hard for us to be able to use it. And just to making sure that the requirements of all the objectives are being met for the unit. This was important, like going back and looking at how to look at content for your platforms that you're using, or your different web tools that you can use. I did mine on Savas. I think Savas is one of the ones that I use the most. So I think that was the reason why it was important for me to try to utilize that one. The next one would have been, give me one second. Let's see here. The social ethical considerations when we're looking at the breach of everything. So like as far as like your platforms, looking back at this, this was this was interesting to me because this recently happened to me. So it's really important for students to have their own accounts, to be able to log into the web tools for learning purposes. They're assigned, it's important for them to use the ones that are assigned in school. One of the big things is that we need to make sure that we follow the rules that have been put in place, and that we, with FERPA and even with the New Mexico Student the New Mexico Student Data Privacy Act that was enacted in 2019, which prohibits the school districts from sharing student data with third-party vendors unless certain conditions are met. So this actually happened to me recently. I was using quizzes for giving tests. My students liked quizzes because it's not only is it a way for me to check for, like, use it as a formative assessment, but they liked it because it was interactive, it was colorful. I could do all kinds of things with quizzes to keep them engaged, even during their testing or even their reviews. However, there was a day that I went in to give a quiz, not necessarily a test, but just a regular quiz on vocabulary, and I couldn't log in, and neither could my students. Come to find out, it was because Quizzes was actually utilizing the data used for assessments for their personal use. And our technology department ended up sending a mass email and explaining to us that we were not able to use Quizzes, and they've actually blocked a lot of websites for web tools for us until they could actually go and research a little bit more regarding who was getting the data for these assessments, who was getting the students' privacy was not being private. So anyways, technology, our head of our technology department actually sent an email and let us know. Eventually they, told us that we could use Quizzes, but it wouldn't be for anything but purposes for kind of like, I guess, reviewing any kind of test or assessment. They weren't going to be able to log in anymore, so I couldn't put it under a test because Quizzes has different areas that you could just do, like a review game or checking for understanding, but anything that would actually take like an assessment or the data, it won't let them log in anymore. So needless to say, we had to find a new platform to give a test, because it wasn't just me who was using Quizzes for testing purposes. It was also the other Spanish teachers at another school as well. We had all paid into Quizzes. It was a platform that we actually had to pay for everything that we did to be able to collaborate with each other for testing purposes, and then we couldn't use it anymore. So please don't mind my dog back there. So we are now able to use it just as a review tool, engagement for learning, for the students, but they can't do any kind of formative assessment because Quizzes does provide that information to I guess a third party. I don't know who the third party would be, but they do. So we can't have them log in for anything that says like it's a test or a quiz. It can, because it doesn't allow it. So let's see. The next one I know was going back and looking at web tools. So this assignment, I should have created the presentation, and I misread apparently what I was supposed to do for this assignment. So I didn't get a chance to create the presentation like I would have wanted to. And I haven't had a chance to go back and do the presentation, but it was, I just put everything, just going back and reviewing, what would need to be reviewed for what would be important for me to look at a web tool. And I just I need to actually go back, and so I can show you and actually do this presentation. I will hopefully try to get that done by next week, to try to get that PowerPoint set up for you, what I would think would be a traditional versus a web tool to be able to look at. Let me see here. It's my first time doing a vlog. Hopefully it's not that bad. I don't know. We'll see. Sorry guys. Trying to just kind of keep it going. Going back and looking at audio tools for learning. I actually go back and I'm pretty sure this is the one that I talked even more about, being able to use different platforms. Give me 1 second. So web tools, using it. This is interesting to me because 3 years ago when COVID hit, or it was back in 2020, so almost 4 years ago. It's been 4 years. When COVID first happened, we shut down. Schools had to figure out a way quickly to be able to keep education going. So, but we were already going towards that, I feel like, because, my kids have had a Chromebook for a long time in school. When everything happened, I wasn't teaching at the time. I didn't start teaching until 2 years ago. So this is my second year. And, it was interesting that, I saw my kids back then starting to use technology for Zooms, for Google Meets, to be able for your teachers to communicate with them. We even had, myself, I was using technology at the job that I had by doing meets myself on Zoom with families. I was a social worker at the time, so I was actually meeting with, families over Zoom, talking to them. I knew other people that were using FaceTime, even privately, like within our family, just to be able to have that communication, to be able to have contact. We had FaceTime, we had Zoom, we had Google Hangout, we had, every kind of platform that we could actually use for videos, we did. So going back, to the district having kids going in, in person versus virtual. Even right now, I feel like it's important, that we utilize that. I utilize that even now because I didn't realize how difficult it would be to teach virtual or even try to teach somebody that wasn't in your classroom until recently. And I don't know how hard it was prior to now, but I actually do have a virtual student that, for whatever reasons pertaining to the student has been online this whole year. And it wasn't the easiest thing. Originally we were supposed to get cameras for this virtual student. Something happened with the camera that I had, plus I had a Targus that wasn't working and they had to order a new one. So anyways, the best way that we figured out that in order to make sure that the student was still engaged and was participating in the classroom and doing everything that we were doing in class, I put all the assignments. I do an agenda every single week on Google Classroom. The student knows what we're going to be looking at. The student has a book and they have a workbook and they have the vocabulary sheets that I provide. I provided all this information up front to the parents of the student. And when I'm in class, all I do is I jump on a Google Meet. I've been doing this whole year. I jump on a Google Meet during that class period, and the student participates even in groups. I take my laptop and I set it in a group setting and I tell them that this, she's going to be in this group, you make sure you incorporate her, and they do. And it's interesting to see how well these students have actually utilized how they've gotten used to seeing somebody on camera and being able to have a conversation with them and going and to explain what they're doing. And when they're supposed to be talking, there's a lot of collaboration in my class as far as when it comes to speaking Spanish and writing dialogues and trying to do, taking turns asking questions and answering questions and interviewing each other and participating. And I can ask the student a question myself and she responds and everybody can hear her because she's coming through my projector from the Epson, from the audio, so not only can we see her, we can hear her, she participates. All of that is important. And I see it firsthand by utilizing it in my classroom right now. It's been interesting to say the least. It's not an easy task and I couldn't imagine having to do this all the time. I just can't imagine having to use it all the time. So I really and truly have been shocked being able to do it. And even the couple of times last year that we had to do virtual for a couple of days, not even for a long period of time, but just like a day here and a day there. It was interesting to see the students log on, get on, communicate with you, talk to you. If they have any questions, it's important. I think right now, it is really, really important in this day and age how technology is being used in the school systems, and students need it. Like we need it in our school systems. So very, very different. And I know that I just did the moving on to the next one. I'm pretty sure that was the how to differentiate in a classroom. I just recently, actually on Monday, I post my agenda for the week, and students log into Google Classroom and they see what they're gonna have, and I use their focus also in my Google Classroom. However, I create different ways to answer my focuses. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry. I create different ways in order for them to answer. I have students with IEPs and I have students who are gifted. I have students that are special needs. I have students that are not on any kind of plan, but I put the focus up on their Google Classroom. Their Google Classroom, for instance, I will have questions up there that they have to answer in Spanish and they have to give me complete sentences. However, those who have, like for instance, my GT, my gifted students, they will answer the questions in Spanish. They'll read the question, they'll answer the question in Spanish in a complete sentence, and then they will have to translate their answer. So they have a different, like, even though we're doing the same questions, they have a little extra step that they have to put in there. My regular students who don't have any kind of special needs, they'll just answer the question in Spanish in a complete sentence. But those, I can take those who have modifications to their assignments. I can take, and sometimes I will give a word bank for, like, I'll start off the sentence, I'll give them sentence starters on theirs. It takes a little bit for me to plan this, but I do sentence starters, and then they can plug in, or they have a word bank that they choose from to plug into their sentences if it's one of those modifications. And then I have another modification where I provide parts of the sentence. I don't give them sentence starters. I mean, not sentence starters, but I don't give them a word bank, and they have to know the vocabulary. So it's different scales of what they have to know. So that's one of the ways that I use it. I also use it when we do speak and record assignments. I do the same thing. They write a dialogue. Some of them have word banks. Some of them have fill in the blanks with a word bank. Some dialogues, they have to come out and do it completely by themselves. But that's how I do it. I use technology for that kind of purposes. And sometimes I use other technology. I've used it to where I can upload diagrams, and I can use phonetics where they can hear it, how it sounds. I also have PowerPoints that they can refer back to when they're not in the classroom, if they're working on an assignment back at home, or after school, or for some reason if I'm not there, they can, if I have a substitute teacher, they can always go refer to a video or to a PowerPoint back on Google Classroom under materials. So that's there as well. So those are just different ways that I can help all the different learning styles, even. So as of right now, this is what I have. Hopefully my video wasn't too long. I've never done a video blog before. I've never done a vlog, so this is new. Again, my name's Etta Albert, and hopefully I didn't talk your ear off and you got some important information out of this. Maybe not, I don't know. Okay, well, I will talk to you guys later. It was been nice doing this class with y'all, and hopefully my vlog will load and we can move forward. Bye, have a good day.